Hi, good morning, Nick. How are you?
Yeah, good, Justin. How you doing, buddy?
Nice, nice. Yep, very nice, warm, sunny day here in Auckland. Good morning, everyone joining us. We've got the chat panel. Perhaps let us know whereabouts you are. That would be great to know where you're calling in from or joining us from around the country. Uh, Whoa. So, yeah, one of our first webinars for the year. I was pretty excited when I saw Nick, you and the team launching this product, Takeoff QS. I think it's solving a really important problem that we've got in the construction sector. It's a process that sucks up a lot of time and resources, um, and I think it's a great example of a Kiwi company building AI tools for us, rather than us expecting some big corporate somewhere to fix it, right?
Correct.
Uh, Everyone, we're gonna rip into this. If you've got any questions, drop them into the chat, and we'll come in. My name's Justin Flitter. I'm the founder of New Zealand.ai. If you haven't been on one of our sessions before, welcome. It's great to have you here. You're part of a community in the academy of more than 2,500 people, discovering new tools as we are today and learning some practical AI skills. Nick, tell us a little bit about you. Where are you? What's your background? How did you get to building Takeoff QS?
Yeah. Cheers, Justin. Hello, everyone. I'm Nick Laddie. I'm a product lead at Agentic Intelligence and primarily working on Takeoff QS here. And I mean, my background's varied. I'm absolutely fit into the box of a generalist. Worked a little bit in software and way back when, and built a few websites when I was playing around back in my early 20s. Ended up in law and studied law. Worked as a lawyer. I've worked as a teacher. I've worked in the Middle East as a war journalist. It's a varied
Wow.
CV. Yeah, a lot of experiences, but I guess the thing that ties it all together is people and problems and trying to solve them. So a lot of face-to-face interaction in all my roles, and bringing that forward into this role here. And yeah, I guess the most important part for me is that interaction with the client, understanding what the problem is, understanding the industry that they're working in, and then trying to solve it. And I
Yeah.
guess that's really what we're doing with Takeoff QS.
Yeah. Yeah. With your experience working with Agentic Intelligence, you're down in Christchurch, right?
Correct. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're just right beside the new stadium that is about to be christened in a couple of months. So yeah.
Oh, awesome. Fantastic. So your team's doing a lot of work with different companies around New Zealand with AI. What's Where are we at? What's your take on kind of adoption? How's it shifted? Perhaps, I mean, we saw a big shift in the last quarter of last year, but over the last year, kind of, how do you see AI adoption in New Zealand, changing over the last year or so?
Yeah, I think we're going relatively slow. It's hard to integrate into old systems, and it's hard to create behavior change. So what we find is there's a real push from leadership. I think like at that level, like the senior leadership teams and the boards around the country, they see what's coming. They've got that high level vision and that strategic lens on it, and they want to see change, and they can see the potential for the return on investment by creating efficiency across the board. Different story trying to integrate it into companies, but I mean, from our perspective, we feel like we live in a bubble, much like yourself probably, because you're seeing what the technology is capable of every day, seeing how quickly it's advancing, and then not really seeing that in the economy, and you're not seeing that in the GDP numbers or anything like that. So there's like a mismatch there, and it's sort of the tail will wag soon, I think, and we're going to see massive like changes and massive improvements in that ROI for companies. But you got to go in early, you got to go in hard, you got to get your data sorted, and you've got to be all in. You can't go into this sort of half baked.
Oh yeah, the half-assed approach is definitely one that I think we continually battle with companies with. It's I mean, even I've got one case this morning company I'm working with. It's like got this great champion inside the business, but the management team are like, we've already got Copilot for free. Why do we need to pay for it? So we're trying to save them hundreds of hours of work time every month so that they can add capacity into the business. But for $50 a month per person. Anyway, we're battling that. There's a mindset shift. There's nervousness or anxiety around change.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Another
lots.
interesting thing we're seeing is actually while leadership's pushing it, the actual boots on the ground, the staff that are going to need to really work with it and use it, are I wouldn't go as far to say as they're sabotaging the projects, but they're not helping it along. They're quite happy to see these pilots fall over and not succeed.
or um or I guess the alternative is that your board and your management team are sitting on their hands. Meanwhile, you've got um, you know rogues throughout the business that are just building agents and just doing stuff, right? And
Shadow AI.
it's just shadow AI. It's
Yeah,
just under the hood, and they're just going gangbusters.
yeah.
And at some point, people are kind of going, "How on earth are you doing all of that work so quickly? Like that's actually really good. How did you?"
Yeah.
And there's this aha moment, right? And so you just got to have this pincer approach. You just got to find the way in with the champions, right? So
Mm.
yeah, what is
But
your
I
AI
guess
tool stack? Oh,
I was
yeah.
just going to say quickly, I guess sort of our approach is we're really trying to productize more than try to sort of build out really bespoke solutions for one company as such. So, that kind of the concept of a plug and play and being able to use a product that is going to help as many companies as possible
Oh
and
yeah,
build them out like that.
it's all about, it's got to be about scale, right? It's just um yeah. So what does your AI stack look like for you? For what does Nick Lassie's AI stack look like day to day?
Yeah, I mean, I spend a lot of time in Replit, a lot of prototyping. So another product I'm working on, which is what TakeoffQS fell out of a product called Build Foundry, which is a full residential construction operating system, and TakeoffQS is one part of that. So on that platform, I'm prototyping those modules ahead of time, and we're getting that really quick iteration with the client around what they need, what they want to see in the platform, and I can just turn it around so quickly with these AI coding tools. So big fan of Replit. It's getting better by the day, as obviously as the models improve, it gets better. Replit in design mode is incredible as well. It uses Gemini 3, and it's just like can create rapid, high quality like front end. So yeah, love
So
Replit.
kind of replacing Figma and a whole bunch of different tools, right?
Different, yeah, different strokes, different folks, I guess. And I guess everyone finds their comfort zone, which, with a product that they like and trust, and they know what they're going to get, and they kind of get a feel for how long it's actually going to take to do it on that platform. So yeah, use Replit a lot. Also for building internal tools. So I've been building out this sort of internal product context tool, which you can link in with your GitHub, you can link in with your customer surveys, you can link in with your post-log analytics. It's got a knowledge base, so it's just got really up-to-date context on your product. So when you come, it's called You Have Issues. You jump into it. You don't have to type. You don't have to give it any more context. You can just get straight into prompting it for what you need, and it's been really useful. Really, like massive time save for me, and just to get a better understanding on the product as it is now, what changes have happened recently on the development side, and also like strategizing for the future and where we need to go with the sort of go-to-market phase.
Yeah, awesome. Love it. Replit's great. I love playing around with ideas of that and just being able to use a text prompt to kind of come up with a. It's not necessarily going to get production ready, but it's going to get you
No,
pretty close with it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, exactly. And I also been playing with Codex a lot, just in the terminal, and just having that experience of coding and CLI has been, yeah, quite an incredible experience. It's just something I'm dipping my toes in now. Haven't come from a super technical background, but I'm heading that way for sure. I'm just loving that side of it.
Okay, so talk us through the problem that we're solving here, right? With TakeoffQS, right? So give us the background to the product, the problem that we're solving, um, with it.
Yeah, I mean it's inefficiency, right? It's time to build a house, and there's so many delays throughout that process that's slowing down that whole flywheel of construction in New Zealand. And this is one of the key bottlenecks for getting a house built, because what we realized is that it's sometimes taking up to 4 weeks to get your quantity surveying measurements and estimations back from a quantity surveyor. So that's 4 weeks where just nothing can really happen. And you speed that up to with something like Takeoff QS. Once we release our balance of house model and it's fully operational, we're talking about being able to turn this around within an hour. So that's the kind of speed efficiency improvements that we're looking at here. And and the future looks bright for a product like Takeoff QS, because it's only going to get better as it trains on more plans, as the technology grows. But we've also got a really interesting moat in that it's trained on New Zealand building plans. So this is specifically for New Zealand, and that's something that other international products can't offer. But yeah, just back to your question. The other thing is just it's expensive as well with quantity surveying. You might be paying, I think we heard, up to $1,500 for a residential balance of house. So that's full residential takeoff. Whereas using something like this is going to be considerably cheaper. And it's also waste as well. The measurements are so accurate. Whereas at the moment, what we're hearing is that there can be up to 30% waste margins on a residential build, which is, I mean, just quite frankly, unacceptable, right? For so many reasons. Whereas if you've got this that is giving you accurate measurements, you can really rely on them and trust them. We feel that we're going to be able to really cut that number down considerably as well.
So does that does that equal additional cost in materials? That
Absolutely.
Like, what does that translate into?
Yeah, I mean, exactly. It's you buy more than you need, and then it's also just going in the skip. So it's the economics of it. It's the sort of sustainability of it. Uh, yeah, I mean, the efficiency.
Don't we know how many nails it takes to build a house?
Wow, there's so many measurements that have got to go into it, right? And I mean, and the thing is as well, what's happening now, what we have just really clocked onto is that so much of how quantity surveying is being done now is still on paper. So there are other software-based, browser-based software that you can use to do a digital takeoff, but they're not they're not actually in operation across the board. And that, yeah, a lot of that estimation has been done pen, paper, ruler, calculator. So many points there where you could get a measurement wrong. It just takes a long time. You've got to do all those calculations each time for every single set of plans you're doing. Um, yeah, I mean, I think some would argue, quantity surveyors would argue that's how they like doing it and it works for them, but
It's
it doesn't seem
2026,
efficient.
folks.
It
Some
doesn't seem
processes
efficient.
we just don't have to do some things now.
Yeah. So we've certainly had some. I've been doing a lot of demos on Takeoff QS in the mainly this year and the end of last year, and we're having those aha moments with a lot of people, and especially around just that time, just being able to save so much time, because as you'll see when I demo later, it's pulling out those measurements straight away, and also in revision, because often a lot of time when you're building plans, the client might come back and say, oh, actually I want to change this wall, or I want a little bit more space here or whatnot. And doing it the old school way, you've actually got to remeasure the whole thing, right? Whereas now with this, you can just chuck the plans back through the system and get those numbers. So what we've learned is that there's definitely a market here also for that sort of concept phase, because architect will produce concept plans which are not fully fledged, but enough to start doing an estimation on. And
Yeah.
architects are really keen to use Takeoff QS when they're actually writing their plans or designing their plans, sorry, and then they can get those numbers to the client quickly and say, look, if you actually move this wall out here, this is going to cost you this much more, etc. So architects have become another really interesting market segment that we're looking at as well.
Yeah, it's fascinating, eh? Once you kind of dive into it, who has this problem or similar as part of their customer engagement. But yeah, and as you said, right at the beginning, it's not just about building a product for one company. It's being able to understand an industry-wide problem, right? And if we can build a platform to solve it for everyone, then it's the tide's going to lift, right? So
Correct. Yeah. And I mean, our current like major focus at the moment is on pre-nail. So that's like your frame and truss. That's your timber for, when you're doing a residential build. And, that's a really competitive industry there for suppliers, because if you can get that quote back quicker to the client, you're more likely to win that quote, right? Whereas if you've got some that are doing it on pen and paper and they're taking their time, it might take weeks to get it back to the client. Whereas if you're using something like TakeoffQS, you could turn it around in that day, get it back to them. Numbers are pretty much spot on.
yeah, so
But
from a sales revenue gen perspective, it's got advantage there as well, right?
exactly.
Yeah, it's fascinating just how much time it's going to be able to chip off that process. um I think it's going to be really interesting. So if you've got any questions about this, about Takeoff QX, folks, drop them in the chat. um I I'm keen to understand the human-led process here. So when you take us through the demo,
Hmm.
we can see what the AI-led process is. I understand that it's going to take a whole lot of time, but there must be a whole lot of friction in this human-led process, because it's just a legacy process that we're actually now going to strip away. Is that? Can you?
Yeah, I mean, we're absolutely not trying to be the verifier. So the beauty of something like Takeoff QS is, as you'll see when we do the demo, is there's no black box here. What you see is what you get, and so the computer vision models will start to create that prediction of what they see as the annotations that are needed for the measurements for quantity survey and takeoff. But the user then goes in and actually can then edit any of those measurements as they deem fit. So you can actually see where the AI or the computer vision has done a good job, and you can see where it needs to be tidied up by a human. So each step along the way, the human has to approve each and every measurement, and each and every annotation can be edited. So in that regard, it's still very much human in the loop. It's still gonna need people that have the expertise to be able to do a takeoff to understand what they need.
Do we get to a point where the product gets smart enough and trustworthy enough, accurate enough, that I guess that human in the loop reduces?
Yeah, I mean, we sometimes worry that people will just hit approve, just rapidly click approve, and they won't even check it. I think it's probably in reality that's where we're heading. Yeah,
Yeah,
but we wouldn't, as a company, as a business, want to be the ones doing that verification anytime soon, at least, because that's not for us to say. That is for the expert has that
totally.
relationship with the client to make those decisions.
Yeah, yeah. Question from Tim. During the development, have you been working with construction industry professionals, and how have you?
Yeah, oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. So I should have
Okay.
mentioned, yeah, so we're working really closely with a Base Property Group, which is based out in Rolleston and just out of Christchurch. So they are property developers, they are a construction company, and they also own a foundations construction company as well. So we've been out on site with the builders, with their quantity surveyors, working really closely with the quantity surveyors that they have internally to build this out. So they're our subject matter experts. They're a partner in the development of this product as well. So very much aligned with the industry in that regard. And then along the way, we've been out with a large number of different construction companies. We're demoing all the time. We're getting their feedback. working with some of the large material supply companies in New Zealand as well, and kind of starting to talk to them about enterprise options for adoption. So very much out there and in it with the industry. And yeah, I'm out of the office a lot.
It's good, eh? It's good. What was my question? Are there supply chain connectivity opportunities here? Like you mentioned
100%.
suppliers, right? So, as you're going through kind of, doing the plans for the site, then kind of knowing what products need to be
Yeah.
added to the purchase order for, your Bunnings trade delivery.
Yeah.
Then that should, it's almost like, the takeoff QS AI talks to the Bunnings AI and
hmm
the stuff gets delivered on site at the right time, right?
All part of the plan, Justin. All part of the plan. Yeah, nailed it on the head. And also looking at that like wider sort of national scale of what supplies are needed ahead of time, and being able to actually look at that kind of larger scale, and being able to potentially get into that material supply side of things.
But then you can have ads, right? Because you can go, hey, actually, that 4x2 is cheaper down the road.
Well, I mean, it depends on the integrations we can get with different suppliers. If they all want to link up their API and give us all their prices, that's there in public there for the user to see and make their decision.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so you've built these computer vision models to ingest the property designs, right? I
Yeah,
guess.
so based on the 2D PDF building plans, which is still that's still the lingua franca here in New Zealand. BIM's been around for a long time, but it hasn't been adopted at a wide scale, particularly in residential construction. So 2D building plans, architectural plans, standard plans that you would get, and it ingests those. It uses a dyno model to be able to select which pages it needs to pull out, and then it presents those to the users with the annotations on it, and then the user, yeah, can tidy up those annotations or approve them from there. So yeah,
Well, I
trained on a
I
off you go, mate.
I expect that building that model was no mean feat for some AI engineers.
Yeah, yeah. There's been some late nights, I can tell you that much. But no, we've got an amazing team. Pretty lean but super efficient, and
Yeah.
we've got some experts in computer vision. Got really excellent web developers that support them and bring it all together. So yeah, the training
Awesome.
process usually we'll train it on about. It depends on how many plans we've annotated, but yeah, we'll sort of reach a number and then we'll train a new model. So we're always updating the model and it's always improving and getting better over time.
Yeah. So Andy's just asked, that the inputs are PDF plans. Are there any plans to integrate backwards from the design apps themselves?
Not at this point. Definitely something we would like to be able to integrate, and everything's on the table at the moment. It's just sort of at the moment finding that product market fit really, and being able to push the product forward. But yeah, that's something we have thought about, and it's a really good idea.
Good question. All right. Thanks, Andy. Thanks, Tim, for your questions. All right, Nick, give us a show and tell. Give us a walkthrough.
Cool, let's do it. All right, so I've just preloaded it. It takes a couple of minutes to load, so I didn't want to bore the bore our dear viewers with that. But you can get in there now and play with it yourself, so you can experience it as you wish and play around with it. So it's live now and ready to go. So please do jump in there, sign up, and you can start using it. So what we have here is just a standard single-story residential construction set of PDF plans, and I've loaded those in, and it's taken me to the first page for annotation. So this is our pre-nail model. At the moment, we've got three models. We've got a pre-nail, which is frame and truss, your timber for a house. Got foundations, so that's all your concrete, your ribs, your pods, everything you need to build out your foundations. And then we've got a painting model as well. So I'll just demo the pre-nailed model today, but you can get in there, as I say, and have a look at the other models. So what this is here is these are all the measurements you need to be able to do a pre-nail takeoff. So the first measurement here is the roof perimeter. So you'll see this is entirely what the computer vision has pulled out. I haven't touched this at all. If, say, it was a little bit out like that, then you can just edit it as you need to. And you'll see here the measurements change as you edit those annotations. So first measurement, first thing I have to do here is confirm the scale, and it's pulled out the scale there, but it's using OCR there to analyze that page and pull out the scale. So I confirm the scale and approve that annotation. I'm happy with that. I'll move on through to the next bit. The only other thing I'll just show you quickly is the split view here. So if at any point you did want to reference another page in the PDF, you can do that there. Cool. So next is the catchment. So what we have here is the area of the different roof catchments and also the pitch. So these are the measurements that you need to do a pre-nail takeoff. So you'll see it's missed a couple. So because we haven't trained it on quite enough building plans at this point, it's still not quite pulling out every catchment. So in this case, you would just quickly annotate your own, and that one goes into your measurements here. The thing, interesting thing around this is that it won't, if it's not perfect, it won't try and give you one of those catchment measurements. It will only actually pull it out if it knows that it's perfect. So you can just cleanly come in and annotate all the other ones. So I'll leave the other two for now, but you get the idea there. You come in here again, you begin the approval, and we've sort of got this approval button here, which is like the command center. So you can just do everything from here. So you approve, 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 approve. You're happy with that. It's pulled out all of those square meterage. It's pulled out the pitch. Happy to go through to the next section. So here is the wall height. And to do this, you confirm the scale again. So it's pulled out 1 to 50, which is correct. Confirm the scale, and you measure wall height here. So click here, and it doesn't matter where you click on the floor, it'll pull out that vertical height there. So you see it's pulled out 2.36. Prove that, go through to the next cross section, do the same thing again. We are working on automating this section here as well, but at the moment there's a little bit of a mix, as you can see, of kind of the computer vision, the automated process, and then a little bit of old school human work to be done as well. So we'll approve that and proceed through to the floor section. So again, here, this is the perimeter of the floor plan. It's got the external walls, floor area, etc. Looks pretty good. Looks like there's a little bit of a mess there. So I'll just come up here and tidy that up. I don't want to move the whole thing. Just that point there, moves it there, and then happy with that. So that's entirely what the computer vision has pulled out for those external walls. Confirm the scale and approve. And then next is quite a tricky one. So this is the internal walls, which obviously you need to be able to measure internal framing. So you'll see here, again, once we've trained it on more plans, it'll be a little bit more accurate, but it's a little bit out on a few things. So you would just need to go through and tidy those up. But yeah, I mean, once we've actually trained this on a relatively small number of plans, so over time, these sorts of errors will not happen. Even with probably a couple of hundred more building plans through it, we may see a marked improvement on that. So you'll see here, you might need to add one here. So we'll add this one here. It's quite fun. I quite enjoy doing the annotation. And this is part of what you're saying as well, around like there's still that human interaction with software here. Like it's not just sort of a click. You've actually still got to visualize things. You've got to see it. You've still very much requires a human to be involved. I assume that they're all good, and I would assign a wall height to those, because you may have a building which has different wall heights for different rooms. So that's what I was doing in that section there, was giving that wall height. But if there were multiple wall heights, you could then come through here and assign different wall heights to different rooms, basically. And that's how we know that we're measuring the right, getting those right measurements for different wall heights. So anyway, I'd start approving those, approve. And then I go through to pricing. So at this point, I've got all my measurements I need, and I'm now through to the bill of quantities page. Now the idea here is that you would, I mean, longer term, our idea is that we would have it linked up with all the latest labor constants, so the percentage of labor that you would need to add to a measurement to get a really accurate pricing on that item. Also, we want to be able to have APIs, as we talked about. So like actually you have those suppliers there, and you can get those live and right up to date prices that you can attach to the items.
So should
Currently,
you
it's
would the system know, how many hours it takes to put a wall in?
so that's where that's where we're heading towards. Yep. So those are labor constants, and we just have to have some discussions with companies that provide those numbers. But it's once we have kind of the permissions to do that, it'll be integrated into it. It'll be very quick, and you'll be there. Because a lot of what people are actually paying for a quantity surveyor is this section here, is the pricing, right? It's like they
Yeah,
don't.
well,
It's
it's
as
predicting. Yeah.
yeah, it's knowledge of the latest prices. What is the labor? What are the labor constants for all these items? So that's where, because we've been really focusing on the computer vision side of things. As we continue to develop this product, big focus is going to be going on here into this bill of quantities and pricing section, because that's where the product will really succeed or not, I say. So the other thing we want to be able to do here is, which you can currently do, is you can save a template. So if you've got a build which you know is similar to the build you did last month or last year, you can save that template and then use it again. So when you load a template in, it will kind of have all of those same items that were in that other house that we built, which was similar. And then once you load that in, all of these measurements will have the same formulas from that template, and you'll basically be there. So the idea is that in theory, you would get to this page here, and there wouldn't be a whole lot of work to be done, because a lot of it's been automated through those templates, through having all that pricing, all the labor constants directly linked to all those items. And at this stage, it's just a case of checking that all the items are correct, and then you're good to go. You can
I mean,
export from
so
there.
then you actually might only be changing whatever the variations are from the. I mean, you'll have the standard plans for that particular property, and then it's just going to be whatever the customer customizations are, right? They want a fireplace here instead of something else, or um, you know they're lifting the roof. There'll be some slight variations to the plans, customer by customer, but basically the base design is going to be the same, right?
Correct. Yeah. And in that case, this I mean, TakeoffQS will be incredibly efficient when it's a
Yeah.
similar build to one before. Yeah, the more customized it gets, the more input you will have to have into it. But yeah, I mean, it's a massive unlock for kind of more cookie cutter builds at the moment, and then as we build it out, it's going to be hopefully just as effective on those more kind of design builds.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of the workflow. It's the idea is it's super intuitive, and it takes people through those steps without too much thought needed, right? And so it's pulling out those pages. It's taking you straight to where you need to approve the next step. It's taking you to the bill of quantities page, and then from there you export to CSV, PDF, Excel, wherever you need to go. And then maybe down the line, maybe it will have some functionality where you can actually just email out straight from the platform, if that's what we hear customers want. But we're not trying to, at this stage, we're not trying to place too much of the workflow. This is very much just, it knows what it is. It's trying to solve a problem and trying to solve it well without trying to kind of spread its arms too wide.
Yeah, I can just see tons of opportunities for a platform like this, right? Super smart. and as we said, you know, it's a repetitive, time consuming ass of a job for people to keep doing when they'd rather be, you know, investing their brain power and their IP in something more. So yeah, it's I'm sure this is going to get picked up well, and certainly for those companies that are building off you know, repetitive plans, you know, consistent properties. I think it's going to add even more value for them throughout that process. And of course, the more companies that use it and the more plans that get imported, the better the platform's going to get for everyone, right? So
100%. 100%. Yeah. I mean, this
that's
is
why we
like,
call it
I
machine
often
learning.
say, yeah. I mean, I often say this is the worst you'll see it, you know? It's,
Today's the worst AI will ever be.
yeah, correct.
Right. Any questions, team? Bounce them in there. I think we've kind of given a little bit of glimpse into some of the future roadmap things that you might be working on, without giving any secrets away. I think it's nice and simple. There's not going to be a very big learning curve for anyone to pick this up and integrate it into their workflow, right? And I think that's
That's
a
the
big,
point.
a lot of you know, AI tools or just software in general that people put out. If adoption's too hard and it's not just going to seamlessly integrate into your dailies, then you know, it just gets parked, doesn't it? So it's
100%.
kind of nice to see
Yeah, yeah, we've built that
easy it is.
entirely in mind, and it's, you know, it's an industry that is not necessarily really like keen to for uptake on these sorts of pieces of technology. So we've kept that in mind the whole way. It's got to be easy. It's got to be intuitive, and you'll see. You know, you've seen that in how we've built it.
Um, if you fed the AI Rawlinsons, would this be too much?
Yeah, no, we're thinking. Yeah, we've certainly been thinking a lot about Rawlinsons, and
What's
yeah,
Rawlinsons for
it's a
the
labor constant.
uneducated?
So yeah, it's a labor constant. So it gives you the basic what the labor would be on an item, on a material item, and then you can yeah, you can add that into your total calculation. So
Yeah.
they are kind of like the gospel of labor constants in New Zealand. So um,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely on the horizon.
Okay, so you mentioned that architects were a emerging kind of channel
Mm.
target market. You know, who else is picking up Takeoff QS? You know, who's it kind of aimed at?
Yeah,
What
I
type of
mean,
businesses do you think will be
material
find it most useful?
material suppliers, you know, big material suppliers. Think sort of placemakers, carters, ITM, VIP, especially with that pre-nail model I just took you through, because that's such a it's such a repeated process that they go through, and they all get, you know, thousands of plans a month basically on each of those for each store. I mean, depending on how big they are, but so they are constantly having to turn these plans around, and it's also competitive between all of those suppliers as well, right? So when you have, say, for one consented residential build, you're actually having multiple takeoff events for that, because they're sending them away to multiple different suppliers as well to get the best price. So takeoffs are getting done over and over again, multiple times on the same sets of plans. So uh, the potential upside and benefit of being able to turn it around faster and first and super accurate, and that you can stand by your numbers and feel like you know you could. These are numbers that you can feel confident in, is massive for a material supplier. So, yep, definitely that's where we're targeting at the moment with our pre-nail model, and yeah, got some really important and interesting discussions coming up with some of those suppliers as well.
So that's the supplier side. So not a design construction company.
Yeah, I mean, down the
Pick it up.
absolute. That's where we're heading, is towards that full balance of house. and you'll see on a roadmap that that's coming soon. So we just, unfortunately, we can't do everything at once, and we need to hone
No.
in on one model. And we're still kind of pretty early, really, at this. We only started building this in, like, I think September or October last year. So this is the nature of it. This is the nature of building with AI. We're an AI building shop, and it's
Oh,
fast, and we iterate and we turn things around quickly. It's warp speed, but yeah,
uh,
there still are limitations.
pre-AI, I was working for a startup, and we were in development for 18 months, and we still didn't get it to market. It's like, the ability to be able to just turn things around so quickly.
Yeah,
Um,
and we want to go faster.
so
We're getting frustrated with our pace.
I bet you are. So you got plumbing and electrical planned for later this year. When do you see cladding and joinery?
Cladding and joinery will be part of balance of house. So yeah, I mean, within certainly 2026. Hopefully sooner. Hopefully, like, first half. But it just depends. Balance of house is a pretty tricky problem to solve. There's just a lot of items you have to be able to account for. So as we keep rolling out all of these different models, we'll sort of be gradually building the balance of house model out, like one sort of step at a time. So yeah, it's all
Um,
coming. It's just a case of us solving hard problems as fast as we can.
are you going to be able to talk to your design? Like, can you just use chat to ask it a question?
In terms of, like, within the platform, or
Yeah,
we haven't thought about that so much. What would you sort of envisage?
I don't know. I'm just. Um, is there a scenario where you, instead of searching through the different designs, you might just want to be like, hey, where's the pipe from toilet two going into, I don't know
Yeah, I
what the
see. Oh, yeah,
scenario might
I
be,
see what you
but
mean.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's kind of like you could use an LLM just to actually understand what's in the plans and can identify different materials that you might want to use, or parts of, different specifications within those plans. Not a bad
yeah,
idea. We're just a little bit reluctant to put full trust in an LLM at this stage, to be able to pull out
yeah,
really important technical details. And I think that's the beauty of what we've built, is that it is verified by the human, and you can see it there. And it's not going to be, there's nothing there that will be a surprise.
yeah. So I think that human verification probably goes into Donovan's question around professional liability, right? So if there's an error in the calculation, his question is, in the off chance there is an error in a calculation that isn't user error that results in a loss, is there professional liability
uh,
insurance?
at our end, or
I guess so, yeah.
no? Well, not really, because everything has to be approved
There's a
at
human in the loop, right? It's human
human in
verified.
loop.
Yeah,
Human in loop. So if
yeah,
you approve something, then you've verified it yourself. So we've been pretty cautious around that, and obviously, a lot of our copy, a lot of our messaging is very much like human verification. We are not verifying these. There's no sort of engineering certification, bracing calculations,
yeah,
those sorts of things. It is what it is. It is what you saw in the demo.
yeah,
And if yeah, and often the biggest issue that would probably happen would be if someone had the wrong scale set. So that's why you've got to verify the scale, because if you get the wrong scale, all of your calculations are going to be out.
yeah.
That's probably the biggest
Um,
pitfall.
cool. You touched on concept plans. Is this where balance of house would be sitting, or is it something beyond?
Yeah, no, that's the balance of house would be once the fully approved architectural plans are built out, like after consent, or for consent. Concept plans is more at that initial phase when the architect it's sort of like usually about 5 pages. It's a PDF, and they are just putting together the initial concept for the build. And that's when the clients will be giving architects feedback on that, and they might want some changes, as I mentioned earlier. And then the architect's got to basically redo the concept plans, and that sort of changes all of those calculations again. So that's something. So that would be for architects to use internally rather than having to send out to a quantity surveyor. Because I mean, just yesterday I was talking to some local architects here, demoing the product to them, and they were saying that it took 3.5 weeks to get their concept plans back from a quantity surveyor. So that's 5 pages of a PDF, and I was like, is that sort of acceptable or standard? He's like, yeah, that's just kind of how it is at the moment. I was like, what could you do when that was happening? Like, and they're like, well, we can't do anything in those 3.5 weeks because there's nothing to do until we get it back. So they were really excited about the idea of being able to chuck their concept plans into a system like this, get all those numbers back accurately, quickly, and be able to give that to the client confidently and say, look, this is kind of what that variation is gonna mean, like financially.
Fantastic. Hey, look, thanks so much, Nick. I really appreciate it. Your time. This is super, super interesting. We've done a ton of work across the construction space over the last kind of 12, 18 months. A lot of education and awareness and training and those sorts of things. And this has certainly been a problem that comes up time and time again, right? Which is kind of why I jumped at the opportunity to invite you on to share what you're doing. I think it's going to be game changing for not just a few companies, but the industry. When you look at that whole kind of supply chain optimization through that process. So, really, really interesting. Thank all of you for attending today, for your great questions. Really thoughtful. And yeah, the recording for this will be up in the event page like 2 minutes after we finished, so that you can share it around with your colleagues and those sorts of things. Any last words, Nick?
No, I just say thanks a lot for the opportunity, Justin. Really appreciate it. And just a quick call to action. If anyone wants to talk to us or wants us to do a demo, if you know anyone in the construction or estimating scene, please reach out. We're super keen to talk to you. We want to hear your thoughts. We want to build this out to help everyone in the industry. So, yeah, reach out, takeoffqs.com. You'll find a form there and love to hear from you.
All right. Thanks so much, Nick. Thanks to all of you for attending, and we'll see you next time. Cheers.